and won 2 NCAA championships at Tennessee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
She's gonna be okay.
Great. I know you're relieved.
Thank you, Robin. This one meant a lot.
I'm just glad you were able to keep your promise to her.
Me too. If I can't honor my commitments, well, it's not the man I want to be.
Marcus, you know, no matter how this would have turned out, you're not your father. You understand?
I hope so.
You are a decent human being. You honor your word. You're a man I would trust with my life.
Thank you. For always being there for me. Showing up when it counts. About those drinks.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Clear your head. You got a lot to process. I'm not going anywhere.
In this hour, this final hour of today's program, the Equalizer's Tory Kittles joins us to talk about playing Frederick Douglass, Paul Robeson, and if that ain't enough, Queen Latifah's love interest. I am pleased to welcome Tory Kittles to this program. Tory, how are you today, sir?
Doing great. Thank you for having me, Tavis.
No, it's good to have you on, man. Let me start with the latter, playing Queen Latifah's love interest. It seems to me, and I'm going to confess this on the radio here across the country, I wasn't sure how this Equalizer thing was going to work out as a TV series this time around, given that we've seen so many different iterations of it, and Denzel has put his own flavor on it, of course, in movie theaters with a number of different sequels. So I wasn't sure how this was going to work out, but it seems that the network has found a hit here. They found a way to make this work. Your thoughts?
It began first as a television series that was then turned into a movie.
Exactly.
Back in the 80s, it was Edward Woodward who played the character initially. And then obviously you have, the great Denzel Washington step into those shoes and make it his own and make these wonderful movies, him and Antoine Fuqua, that have sort of transcended what was originally there. But, what initially sort of attracted me to the project was Queen Latifah. Anything that, she steps into is going to be great. So when I first got the script, I didn't even read it. I just, I thought, oh, well, it's Queen. She's doing it. I'm in. Because we had worked together 2 times before on Bessie, and then on another project called Still Magnolias, which Kenny Leon directed. And so it was her being involved that I thought, this is going to be entirely different. This is going to be entirely new. Also, a woman stepping into those shoes, who has a family, and we dive into her personal life and everything that she's managing and still equalizing. So that was interesting to me, and I thought that it could possibly be something special. Now, the fact that it's turned into a show that is number one specifically with African Americans, but also a top 10 primetime drama, and we're in 150 countries around the world, 10 million views each episode. That's something that hats off to the writers, hats off to the production team, and to be a part of something like that is incredible.
Let me come back to this point you made a moment ago, Tory, about the way that the frame has been flipped here, if you will. So you go from a character that's played by a white male to a character that's played by a woman, and a black woman at that. So if that ain't flipping the frame, I don't know what is, and yet it works. What then does it say about how one can flip the frame in Hollywood? And what does it say about the fact that not just how it can be done, but that it, in fact, can be done and be successful?
Well, I think it begins first with the initial idea and the writing. Everything great comes from that. Like, great writing is timeless. And so it will play in any generation. Like at first it was the 80s, and then Denzel was, mid 2000s, and now here we are in 2024. But it speaks to what was initially on the page. And I think with our show, our writers specifically can use Queen Latifah and everything that she brings to any project in a specific way that not only speaks to her audience, but speaks to a broader audience globally.
Yep. Just getting started with Tory Kittles in this hour. He is one of the co-stars of The Equalizer alongside Queen Latifah. As I mentioned earlier, he plays her love interest. We'll talk more about The Equalizer when we come forward. And we ain't got to Frederick Douglass and Paul Robeson as yet. A great deal to talk about with Tory Kittles when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
Hey y'all, Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze fruit-on-the-go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
It's the Farewell Tour. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, and KBLA wants to send you and the special mom in your life Sunday, May 12th at the Kia Forum.
Make sure I'm right, girl, before I let go.
Also featuring soul icon Anthony Hamilton.
You were best to me. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
And After 7. It's a Mother's Day celebration you won't forget. Listen in for your chance to win tickets. And don't forget to wear white. It's the Farewell Tour with Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. May is National Foster Care Month. You can help a child in need of a loving, safe, and nurturing home by becoming a foster parent, providing the support children need to be successful in life. Black children are disproportionately represented in foster care. When placed with families in their community, they have better outcomes to thrive. FosterLAKids.org or 888-811-1121. Again, 888-811-1121. Call today.
Your floors can go from clean to dirty fast. From juice spills, whoops, to muddy paw prints, to little sticky finger marks. Good thing your Swiffer Wet Jet works fast too. Swiffer Wet Jet easily cleans everyday messes as quick as they happen. The next mess is right around the corner. So grab your Swiffer Wet Jet and just spray, push, all clean.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
More of Tory Kittles coming your way right about now. In case you just tuned in, he co-stars alongside Queen Latifah in the hit TV show, The Equalizer. He's also played some other major characters in his career. We'll talk about that, not just the characters he's played in his past, but what he's about to do on Broadway again with our friend and brother Kenny Leon in a project called Home. We will talk about that as well. But let me just a couple questions, if I can, Tory, about Equalizer. We'll move forward here. What does it feel? How does it feel to take something that is in the culture, something that's already well known, something that people have already connected to, and put your own sort of funk, your own sort of stamp on it?
You know, what's great about the show is the way people are responding to it, and our audience, they are keen to let you know how they feel. Queen and I both talked about this a lot. We get stopped in the streets and people want to talk about the show, talk about how it makes them feel on Sunday nights. People also are saying, hey, enough is enough. When are you guys going to get to this relationship? So it feels good to be a part of something that's striking a chord culturally. Like there's a significance in that I don't think we anticipated, but you hope to hit that mark and you hope to honor the things that have come before.
Yeah.
But I think with everything, you have to make it your own. You know what I mean? But it's a collective effort. It's not solely Queen. It's not solely me. It's all of us. It's Joe Wilson, who is our showrunner. Mm-hmm. It's, Lorraine Toussaint, who the show found at a particular time and her wonderfully great career. It's Leah DeLeon Hayes, Adam Goldberg, Lisa Lapira. So it's everybody coming together to work specifically toward making this show the best that we can possibly make it, knowing that it is affecting so many people.
Yep. Let me pull a slice out of the character that you and Latifah play. It is one thing. I mean, the show is what it is. We know what the Equalizer is. We know what she does, and in the film, in the series rather, as the Equalizer. And yet, the part I want to pull out, you referenced a moment ago, and that is the Black love piece. We have seen Black people in all kinds of roles, playing all kinds of characters. To my mind, they being Hollywood, still haven't really allowed us to see the complexity of Black life, the complexity of Black character, and certainly not the complexity of Black love. The fact that that's a part of this storyline, I can't obviously get ahead of the writers, but the fact that's even a part of this storyline, I think is worthy of conversation. So what say you to me and to the audience about the idea, the opportunity, as it were, to be a part of a Black love story? Period. Hard stop.
Well, Blackness obviously is not a monolith. We have so many different complexities and so many different facets of our lives that we can explore. And hats off to everybody at Universal Television and CBS for willing to do that at the network level. It starts with Queen, though, who is always pushing the envelope, and then collectively our whole team. But it's great that we get to do it. I think, entertainment at its base should educate, entertain, and inspire. So to be able to see Black love in the way it's presented between us, and not just like, hey, all right, we're going to go after this. It's been teased over the course of the last, 4 seasons now we're into it, and been a slow build and a slow burn. And this season, particularly moving toward the end of this season, there will be some resolution there. It will be sort of the time to put up or shut up where it comes to Robin and Dante. Will they or won't they? The audience has been waiting for that, and they're going to get a slice of that going forward.
I love how smoothly you did that. How smoothly you did that. At the end of this season, there will be. It always helps. I know the studio's happy when you can tease something without giving it away, and you did that quite nicely, Tory Kittles.
Hey,
Quite
I've been
nicely.
listening to you for a long time, Tavis.
No, man, you know how to do it, brother, and you did it. You did it quite nicely. Let me. I mentioned Kenny Leon. Actually, you mentioned Kenny Leon first, and I mentioned him second. We both love and adore and respect the one and only Kenny Leon, Tony-winning director. I saw his most recent work that I saw was.
Pearly Victorious.
Yeah, Pearly Victorious. Yeah, an amazing Nate and the whole crew. I mean, just an amazing a piece of work. You get a chance to see it?
I did. I saw it twice.
Yeah.
I went to previews. Was the first time I saw it. Then I saw it. Actually, I saw it a couple times. Then I saw the opening. And then I'm friendly with Leslie, who I thought was just tremendous in that part. Also Carrie Young, the great Carrie Young, and Vanessa Bell Calloway. Just such an amazing cast across the board. And so I wanted to see it multiple times because I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
Not knowing that I was going to be working with Kenny shortly thereafter. Like I had no idea that Kenny was going to call me up and say, "Hey, I'm working on this thing in the spring. I want you to come do it." So that I just love great theater. And then when you can take something that Ossie Davis wrote, all those years ago, and him and Ruby Dee did again, and go back to timeless writing. It speaks now the same way it spoke then, and that's when something is truly great, and it can move artists to get out of the way and just let it blossom and be whatever it wants to be. And Kenny is the maestro of pulling people together and understanding what great writing is, and getting you to trust him in a way that allows you to move toward getting out of the way of your ego, removing self from this, and committing to the collective, the company, and allowing something to flourish in a way that it really wants to flourish without you making it happen. You are just a vessel for it to come through.
Yeah. To your point about writing, when I saw Leslie, and again the whole cast is amazing, but Leslie is a gem and a jewel. When I saw him bring this character to life, and watch this thing from the audience, it made me, how can I put this? I had a whole new level of respect for the work and for the work, and particularly the writing of Ossie Davis. So much of what he wrote all those years ago still resonates now in Pearly Victorious. What was your takeaway from the actual writing? I mean, I was sitting there in the audience, months ago when I was able to see this, sitting there wishing I could pull out my phone and start typing some of these lines. As it turns out, I said, "Hey, I know the director. I can get a copy of the script.
That's right.
I can get a copy of the script. I don't have to put my phone out." But the lines, these powerful lines, were coming at you so fast and so furious. It really made me rethink and just value all over again the work of Ossie Davis. I was honored to interview Ossie a number of times in his career, and moreover was honored to be one of the eulogists at his funeral. So I feel some connection to him anyway, obviously, but to sit there and to imbibe those words, it really does make you have respect for what can be put on the written page.
Yeah. Ossie Davis was obviously one of the great artists, specifically for his time, but then that transcends time when we look at how his work is still standing and other artists are doing it. But there's a current that runs through great pieces, and that current runs through the artists who are giving us those great pieces, and so for Ozzy to collectively take all of his experiences and all the things that he was going through in the 60s and put that down on paper, and then for Leslie to put his spin on it, make it his on here in 2024. That's one of those things where it's just art feeding art and feeding the artist. And then again, I think, I can't say enough about Kenny Leon and how he works. This is Kenny, just to give you a little bit of insight to the first time I met Kenny, I was his reader for Fences. They were casting Fences, the one that he did with Denzel and Viola. And he'd come to LA, and I was the guy who would read with all of the other actors coming in to play Corey, the son. And, in the great August Wilson play Fences. And while I was reading, Kenny goes, "Hey, you should read for this." Now secretly, every actor who is a reader, they all want to be asked that question. Yeah, exactly. That's what I want. I want you to ask me to read. And so I did, and I read with Denzel, and I had I think one of the greatest moments in the room that I've ever had. Now, I didn't get it, but Kenny remembered that audition, and then he offered me Still Magnolias, and then he offered me Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which I did with Felicia Rashad down at the Rialto Center in Atlanta. And so now, for him to call me up, after so many years have passed, and we've remained, great friends. I consider him a mentor because he's just a plethora of knowledge. And if you just sit and listen to him talk about his experiences, within the Broadway community with the late great August Wilson, and how he, approaches the material and his respect for the material. When he talks about Sam Art Williams and his poetry in the play that we're doing, Home, it's inspiring. So to be around that energy, and to come back, sort of full circle, and be able to be in Kenny's circle right now as he's doing so much wonderful work, within the Broadway community and beyond. I don't take it lightly. I consider it a great blessing, and it's a great joy for me to be in this moment, in this particular time, doing this play with him.
Tell me, to the extent you can, tell me what you can tell me about Home, the project you're doing with Kenny that's coming to Broadway soon.
Well, Home is it's a play by the great Sam Art Williams. If you're not too familiar with him, he wrote this play back in the 70s. It was a Negro Ensemble Company play that LaTanya Jackson did with Sam Jackson, her husband. They did it. Lorraine Toussaint, she has told me that she did it in the 90s at Hartford Stage with Delroy Lindo. So you have all of these great artists who this play inspired. And the play is about family. It's about love. It's about joy. It's about maintaining your core values. Or if you can maintain your core values when life happens and you're forced to leave home. It asks questions like, can you come back home? There's so much great language and poetry within this piece. And it's one of those things where it went to Broadway in 1979, and L. Scott Caldwell and Charles Brown did it. And I think he won the Tony. And it hasn't been done in 40 some odd years. So this is the first Broadway revival of the show. And the play is just it's a whole lot of exploration about getting back to what's true for you, wherever you are and wherever you come from. Like, what does home mean to you? And we have an amazing cast. Brittany Inge from Miss Pat Show, and Story Years, an incredible talent. So it's the three of us. It's a 3-person play. And all 3 of us are going to be up there making sure we honor Sam Art Williams' words and also Kenny's direction.
Yep. Tell me a bit more for those who've not seen Home. Tell us a bit more about your character.
I play a character named Cephas Miles. Cephas Miles is a farmer boy from this town called Crossroads, North Carolina. And he loves what he does. He loves this land that his grandfather and his uncle taught him how to nurture. And he loves this woman. He loves this woman. And she leaves. She goes off to college to find a better life than the small country town. And Cephas is still okay. You know, he loves her, but he's still okay being a farmer. That's what his purpose is in his mind. And then Vietnam happens. The play takes place in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Vietnam happens. And he's forced to take a stand because of the way he was taught by his grandfather and his uncle. And he doesn't believe in killing. He takes the literal "thou shalt not kill." It's in his heart, imprinted on his heart. And so he takes a stand that he's not going to go to Vietnam. And we know what happens when you take certain stands. And he's thrown into prison. And when he's thrown into prison, he loses everything. And he gets out, and there's no place for him to return. Essentially, his birthright, his land, is taken from him. So he has to find another way to live. And he ventures off to a big city, you know, the promised land, looking for the promise that big cities seem to offer. And he sort of loses himself, and he loses his core values. And the play really is about being inside of the journey and understanding that things don't necessarily happen when you want them to happen. But they happen in the right time. And you got to appreciate the journey. And Cephas Miles does that with a lot of joy and a lot of humor and a lot of love.
I should mention that for those of you Broadway fans, and that I'm sure it means many of you, Home previews May 17, as I recall, May 17. It previews, opens June the 5th. The Broadway show, the revival of Home, again, previews May 17, opens June 5 with a great cast, including Tory Kittles, who's our guest in this hour on Tavis Smiley.
Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Almost a month after 7 of its workers were killed in an Israeli airstrike, World Central Kitchen is resuming its charity work in war-torn Gaza. The D.C.-based charity, which provides meals to people facing war or natural disasters, said operations will resume today with a Palestinian team delivering food. In California, welding students at San Diego College are continuing efforts to replicate the iconic black family statues. The statues were created in 1974 by local artist Rossi Wade and were a symbol of strength and pride for the black community. The original statue was eventually removed after years of deterioration. A $195,000 grant was secured to kickstart efforts to recreate the statue. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Mother's Day is coming up, and Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on great gifts that Mom is going to love, all for $15 and under. Get low prices every day at Macy's Backstage. Find a store near you today at macysbackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily. Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart is here to satisfy morning cravings with its warm, sweet cinnamon sugar rolled dough, ooey gooey texture, and signature cream cheese frosting. Get the best part in every bite this morning with Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart. Only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A monumental win for the Clippers Sunday in Dallas. They won by 5 after blowing a 31-point lead and not having Kawhi Leonard. Leonard is still dealing with inflammation in his right knee. Paul George and James Harden stepped up big time in Kawhi's absence. Both dropped 33 points. Harden scored 15 of his in the fourth quarter. The first-round series is tied at 2 apiece. Game 5 is Wednesday night in L.A. One of the greatest players in the history of women's basketball announced her retirement Sunday. Candace Parker said goodbye after 16 seasons in the WNBA, 13 with the LA Sparks. The 38-year-old Parker won WNBA titles with the Sparks, Las Vegas Aces, and Chicago Sky. She also was a 2-time WNBA MVP, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and won 2 NCAA championships at Tennessee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Febreze. So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
1 in 3 children born today will get diabetes. This sad prediction by the Centers for Disease Control will come true if millions of Americans don't improve their lifestyles, especially by changing what they eat, how much they eat, and how active they are every day. Every 23 seconds, another American gets diabetes. Stop diabetes before it starts. To learn more, contact the American Diabetes Association or download our free diabetes education programs at learningaboutdiabetes.org.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Who do you trust to get at the truth?
Tavis, Smiley.
That's who. The conversation continues right now.
It does indeed with actor Tory Kittles. In case you've just tuned in, you've missed a fascinating part of our dialogue already, talking about his co-starring with Queen Latifah on the hit CBS show The Equalizer, where he plays her love interest and beyond. We've been talking of late about his Broadway work. He's been on Broadway before with Kenny Leon. He's going back to Broadway with Kenny Leon in a play called Home, which premieres here in just a few weeks and opens in June. We've been talking about that. What I have not gotten to as yet is Frederick Douglass and Paul Robeson. So let me push, watching my time. Let me push toward those particular issues that I want to cover as well. It's a pretty amazing thing in any career to be able to play Frederick Douglass or Paul Robeson. To do both Tory Kittles is just patently unfair, brother. It's just unfair.
I think sometimes the things find you. You're not necessarily looking for them. And they tend to find you when, you're open to it and when you're ready for it. Frederick Douglass, what a life, what an inspiring life, and the things that he fought for and the things that he changed about our way of life. We're here now because of the work that he did. So to be able to be a part of that story was one of those special things.
Yeah. Tell me, take me back to when you did Douglas and when you did Robeson. I'm trying to get a sense of how far apart these things were apart and when they happened in your career.
Wow. Frederick Douglass, see, now you got me going back in time, Tavis. I can't remember exactly the year, but I was, when the call came from for Frederick Douglass, you know what? It was a great casting director, Kim, and who called me up and said, "Hey, we're doing Harriet," and Deborah Martin Chase, who's one of the producers on The Equalizer, was also one of the producers on that movie. So we're doing this. Why don't you, Kim Harden said, why don't you come in and read for it? So I had to go in and I read for the part. It was, I was like, just to be a part of something like that was great. And so I started reading all of everything that he wrote. I started reading everything that people wrote about him. And I just sort of wanted to honor his life. I think anytime you're playing an actual real historical character, you just want to make it as real as possible. And he came up in a time where there wasn't no radio interviews or video interviews. And so you just, try to get the essence of who he was based on those things, what he said about himself and what other people said about him. And so I just tried to, just live in that space, when I played that part. And it wasn't until a few years after that Paul Robeson came. But this is how, I guess, creative energy works in a sense. I got a call from Richard Eyre, who'd run the National Theatre in London for years. He did Hamlet with Daniel Day-Lewis. He did King Lear with Anthony Hopkins. And he called me up out of the blue and said, "Hey, I'm working on this play and it's about Paul Robeson and I want you to come do it." Now, Richard had seen Bessie that I did with Queen Latifah, and he was a big Bessie Smith fan. And just based on that movie, he wanted to offer me this part. Now, I knew who Richard Eyre was, obviously in the work that he'd done and the great actors and artists that he worked with. So it was a no-brainer for me to just say yes. And so I went over to London and we started to work this play, and I'd heard about Paul Robeson. My father was a fan of Paul Robeson growing up, but I didn't know a lot about his life. So much of his life had been lost, and so much of it really was erased. A lot of times our great historical figures, we don't talk about them. We don't pass those things on. And I felt like, Paul was one of those guys. I got into his life and I started doing some research and found out that he was the first, Black All-American football player. He also had a law degree. He was going to be a politician, and people wanted him to be a politician, but it was his wife who, understood that he had such a great voice that would be better suited for the stage, and he would affect more people and he could change more lives by doing that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. He went on to advocate and support unions, and he was the biggest star, Black or white, of his time. He was the biggest. He raised more money for the war effort than anybody, because of his song, The Ballad of Americas. And so I started to do all this research, and our particular play was about his time doing Othello. He was the first Black American to play Othello, not the first Black to play Othello, but he was the first Black American to play Othello on Broadway. And the play was about his relationship with Uta Hagen, who became a great acting teacher, and his relationship with her and Jose Ferrer, who was also married to Uta at the time. And what they did was, this play was the longest, their Othello was the longest running Shakespeare play on Broadway. It was 239 shows. And after the Broadway run, they took it around the country. And this was a time where it wasn't popular for a Black man and a white woman to be in any scene, let alone, where the Black man kills the woman in Othello. No spoiler alerts if you don't know. But so they traveled with this play, and the play was called 8 Hotels, and it was about their time traveling, presenting Othello to American audiences in the South. So he would get up and do the show at night, but he didn't have a hotel to go to after the show. And so he'd have to sleep on the floors of Uta Hagen and Jose Ferrer. And so that's what the play was about. But he was just a tremendous figure and did so much for so many people. And a lot of his life is lost, has been lost. I'd hope to see a story or a movie done on his life.
Yeah,
I think there've been a couple.
Yeah, there've been a few fits and starts. I am still waiting on the ultimate Paul Robeson film. There's so much there. There's so much to unpack about his life and his legacy, and the grand nature of his contributions. I've said many times on this program and beyond that there is no Renaissance man quite like Paul Robeson in American history. Not Black, not white. There is no Renaissance man quite like Paul Robeson in all of American history. And the fact that you were honored to play him on stage, say nothing of Frederick Douglass, is fascinating to me. When we come forward, I want to just probe this. I don't know that I've ever talked to anybody who's played both Frederick Douglass and Paul Robeson. Maybe I have at some point in my career, but I would think that your constitution, if your DNA doesn't get reconstructed playing those two characters, certainly one's constitution, I would think, has to be a bit different. Once you played Frederick Douglass and once you played Paul Robeson, I would think that something about you must be different. Something about you must change, even if it's just a matter of your confidence growing. But I am curious as to what happens when one gets a chance to play both Frederick Douglass and Paul Robeson on stage, as our guest Tory Kittles has done. We'll talk about that and a bit more before we lose him at the top of the hour. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, And I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Tory Kittles. Tory, I put the question out there a moment ago. Now I want to hear your response. What is it like in one's career when you've had a chance to play not just Frederick Douglass but Paul Robeson as well? What does that do to you? Or for you, for that matter. Yeah, to you or for you.
First, I got to correct myself. It was Kim Coleman that cast me in that movie, not Kim Harden. I don't want to disrespect the casting directors. They are they've been so grateful to me, really great to me over the course of my career. And a lot of times they don't get the credit that they deserve. So I don't want to confuse Kim Harden and Kim Coleman. But I think when you approach playing any great figure, you have to look, you have to start with what's underneath all of that. What are the things that made them great? What are their actions? Because the actions always speak louder than words. Where did they begin? What was their upbringing? Who influenced them? So you take all of those things into account. And once you start doing the research, they start to talk to you. They start to talk to you, even if it's just to go, hey, look over here, uncover that stone. And then, you start one place that leads you to another place, and you start to map out and you get a diagram of the totality of who this person was. And then you just try to encapsulate it. I am who I am. I think I always approach things from the essence of who I am and where I come from, and the life lessons that I've learned, and the career path, and my trials and tribulations, and all those things. You bring all of that to it, so you can't get away from you. It's still you. You're just allowing this other thing to happen. It is something that's really hard to explain, getting out of the way of yourself. It's really, but that's what the work is really about. You know what I mean? Anytime I've ever been good, I think it starts with the writing, and then it starts with the director, and then it starts with me getting out of the way of my own ego. Like, I don't ever want to approach something going, oh, well, this could do this. You know what I mean? This could do this for me if I approach it like that, or this could, this could turn into this. Like, no, what are the circumstances that are right here in this moment? and stay in this moment. And that's what I always try to do, whether I'm playing, Detective Dante, or I'm playing, Frederick Douglass or Paul Robeson. But it begins with the research and understanding of who this person was and where they come from, and honoring that.
No, that's great advice, and not just for thespians, but for all of us, to get out of your own way, and to be in the moment. That is still our advice. Get out of your own way and be in the moment. Our remaining moments with Tory Kittles when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007 they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
More of Tavis Smiley and Tory Kittles, who I've enjoyed talking to in this hour, but just about 3 minutes left here to wrap this conversation. So, Tory, is this what you imagined this career would be when you decide to become a thespian?
I'm not certain whether it's what I imagine, because, my career has taken so many different turns, peaks, valleys. And, my initial thought wasn't about what it is about now. I'm a small town country boy from a town of 700 people. So my first thought was, hey, I want to be famous. I think that's the first thought, because being famous would get you out of this particular situation. As I've traveled and studied and learned more about what it actually means to be an actor, to be an artist, my approach is entirely different. There is no expectation. There is only what's in front of you right now. So I don't have necessarily like grand ideas anymore. I look at it in a way that I ask myself the question, how can I service this? You know, and I think starting from that place, whatever happens outside, whatever comes because of the work, you know, that's great. And I welcome that. And that's wonderful, but that's icing on the cake. The fact that I get to do what I get to do with so many wonderful people, with Kenny Leon, with Queen Latifah, you know, like to be in this space with these great minds and these great influential people and learn from them and grow. That to me is the ultimate gift.
Yeah. Well, you are sharing that gift with all the rest of us in the variety of roles that you are starring in. And I celebrate that and wish you nothing but the best in the coming months and years. Of course, Tory Kittles stars alongside Queen Latifah in the hit CBS drama, The Equalizer. And you can catch him on Broadway once again in Home, being directed by our friend and brother, Tony winner Kenny Leon. Home again premieres on Broadway at the Roundabout. The previews, I think, are May 17th. It opens on June the 5th, and we wish Kenny and Tory and the entire cast nothing but all the best. If you can do on stage what you've done on the small screen with Equalizer, you're gonna be all right, brother. So all the best to you, Tory. Thank you for coming on the program, my friend. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure to have you on this program. Some great guests coming up on Tavis Smiley this week, including some guy named Larry Wilmore. That should be fun and funny. Larry Wilmore on this week. Faye Waddleton, with all the talk about women's rights, their reproductive rights, the first sister to ever run Planned Parenthood back in the day. Faye Waddleton is a guest on this program this week. Some guy named William Shatner. That William Shatner from Star Trek fame, William Shatner, a guest on this program this week. Some other great guests all week long. We look forward to, again, tomorrow and the next day, some great conversations in the days ahead. Until then, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley today. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Almost a month after 7 of its workers were killed in an Israeli airstrike, World Central Kitchen is resuming its charity work in war-torn Gaza. The D.C.-based charity, which provides meals to people facing war or natural disasters, said operations will resume today with the Palestinian team delivering food. In California, welding students at San Diego College are continuing efforts to replicate the iconic black family statues. The statues were created in 1974 by local artist Rossi Wade and were a symbol of strength and pride for the black community. The original statue was eventually removed after years of deterioration. A $195,000 grant was secured